G'day, my name is Sly Lessard. I'm an instructor at the Oromocto Dojo, and I'm a recent student, I'd say about 8 or 10 years, with Hanshi Pat McCarthy in the Aiki Kempo Jiu-Jitsu side of things. And today I'm going to be talking about KU and AKJJ with Shihan Geoff MacDonald, longtime student, awesome practitioner, great friend, and yeah, great fellow martial artist. Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you for having
So,
me. Thank you.
so tell me about your martial arts experience prior to meeting Hanshi McCarthy.
Prior to meeting Sensei, I was a Korean stylist and did some kickboxing as well, and started dabbling other arts, but primarily old school Korean Taekwondo and Hapkido. Rose to a sixth dan and a fifth dan in both respected arts, and started getting into a lot of competitions as well. But yeah, it was pretty busy at that point because competition was very important to me. It was kind of testing my skills kind of thing. Yep.
And were there any highlights during that time that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I was had a pretty good career in the open tournaments. Grand champion in Kumite and then forms and self-defense and the breaking divisions and stuff like that. Had a really good run with it. I mean, I think as a black belt, I competed over probably just a little over 300 tournaments. A lot of fun. I would never change the experience. I always tell everybody if you're ever going to compete as a black belt, do it at least once. If you don't like competition, that's fine, but you got to test it out and try it. And then from there you can make your decision. But
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've even had the privilege of competing against you back in the 90s when there's a couple of tournaments in Fredericton, New Brunswick here that yeah, we even ended up in the finals together. I won't say who won, but he's got the trophy.
I do. Was that kata? That was kata, wasn't it? Was that?
It was. It was. While you were training in the Korean style, did you have any questions in that training that weren't being answered to your satisfaction?
Absolutely. I thought there was a disconnect between what we were doing, step sparring in our forms or palge or punse we were doing at the time. And my original style of Taekwondo was essentially Shotokan karate, deep stands, and it was the same thing. The kata were the same, just named differently. But there was a disconnect. There was your self-defense didn't match what you were doing in the forms. I didn't know anything about that. So I was always learning different things, trying to figure things out. And I started asking questions, and that got me in a lot of trouble because I asked the right questions to the wrong people. And I do believe in 1996, 97, I picked up a copy of Hanshi's The Bubishi, is one of his editions of the Bubishi. And that got me in a lot of trouble in a good way. So at one point I broke away and just went independent and completely overnight just went, forget it. I'm teaching traditional karate and jiu-jitsu and that's it. Because I started to realize kicking and punching, it didn't matter if it was Korean or Japanese, you were doing something. I was so fed up with all the politics that I was like, that's it. Completely, I'm done with it.
Understood. Good. And how did you come to discover KU and AKJJ?
So following that, the IRKRS, which is the society that Hanshi governs and he's the director, kind of stumbled onto it because I started reading different things and his name started popping up. And in 2000, I do believe 2007, I emailed him and just said what to do. So I joined the society as an individual first. And then I think it wasn't even that long when I asked, do you have any representatives here that I could train with? And he said, are you asking to be mine? And I went, I guess so. And then he asked me, he said, well, give me an outline how you're going to go about this. So I did, bullet points how I was going to approach it. And in 2012, I actually brought Hanshi in for a seminar for the first time in the Maritimes. I think it was his first time back for over 40 years. So it was a big hit. I got to meet the man in person, and that was I I
I remember that well. Yeah.
I truly realized how much I didn't know. And wow, just still to this day, I think, just to put it kind of in a funny way, I think he's forgotten more than I'll ever learn. If the man ever forgets, I can't see it happen. He's just a complete memory vault of everything. So yeah,
Awesome. And what have you discovered on your path with Koryu Uchinadi and Aiki Kempo Jiu-Jitsu?
the I guess the biggest thing was the empowerment that comes from being able to do several things: get in better shape, healthy lifestyle, teaching others, um, knowing that if you ever get into a violent confrontation, that you're actually going to be, your chances of walking away from that not unscathed but okay are very, very good, because the functionality of what KU does is beyond anything I've seen in most styles or systems. um, that old myth that every fight goes to the ground is complete bullshit. But every fight it's going to end up in a clinch, and that is an area that Riai Tegumi, which is one of those all-encompassing drills that we do that can take it from standing to the ground to the clinch to separating and going back at it, and done in a way that you're not destroying each other. You can build up the tempo, or you can slow it down and make it learning speed. But the benefits from that type of training, the adversarial training, uh, is unbelievable. I mean, it helps you not just physically, mentally. It's just the overall sense of that. Okay, there's a bit of camaraderie that comes out of it. You're training
Mhm.
with a partner. Okay, and you feel good after the training session, but you really actually learn a set of valuable skills from that training, and that you can take that everywhere. So the Ryutegami drills like that is probably the flagship of drills for KU. It encompasses pretty much everything what you want to put into that. Uh,
That's awesome. And you had mentioned prior in some of the questions that weren't being answered in your through your previous instruction, you find that they're now being answered. And the fact that you're finding that there's a link between the patterns that you used to practice and the what Hunchies call the HAP V theory. Do you
oh
find that?
yes, yeah. His HAP V theory, habitual acts of physical violence, is
Awesome. Awesome. And one of the things I like, and maybe and I'm going to ask you to speak more to this, is the fact that when you look at the drills within KU and AKJJ, how they transcend style specifically and go to all styles. You want to speak a little bit
abs-
about that?
absolutely. It wouldn't matter if you're Goju, Shotokan, Shitoru, or anything like that. Even Kung Fu practitioners, doesn't matter. It's a delivery system. He actually originally said to me he didn't want to name it Koryu Uchinadi. He wanted to use it as a delivery tool, or a method of teaching
Right.
principles that you could put it right into any system, and it helped deliver that the teachings a whole lot easier.
When you look at the Riai Tegumi drills and the HAPV exercises that we do, they obviously or can transcend styles. So it's not style specific. You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yes. You see these two-person drills, the functionality of it, the solo representation. So what Sensei was really good at is if you saw this move in one kata, then you'd see it in a kung fu form, and you go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe cosmetically the stands might be shorter, might be longer, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's kind of like this or this. It's that same position, and then you dissect it and you see what the application is. Okay, you have two people fighting, and during that confrontation, at some point, that template move, be it whatever it is going to happen. So somebody,
Mm,
you got to take a picture in the middle of the fight, and then you kind of Photoshop the guy out of it, and then you're going to have that template or that move that you'll see. But how he does it is those are memory tools. So the lessons should be already learned in the two-person drills, but they're fortified or reinforced by doing the solo representations of the individual moves. So, and
That's
that is
awesome.
the beauty of what we do.
That is awesome. You spoke a little bit about empowerment through Riai Tegami and the half V drills. What have you noticed in some of your students and how it's empowered them?
Confidence.
Yeah,
And humility. I mean, obviously there's that, but realizing that if they ever got in a confrontation, and I hope to God they never do, that they actually defend themselves, or they know enough to avoid situations like that. And that is that assessment awareness, and it's risk assessment, and it, without even them understanding what that means, they're doing it. They go, okay,
right.
you know what, situation kind of looks a little funny, I'm not going to be around that. Or a bunch of guys that you're hanging out with are just partying a little too hard and they're doing too much, or they're being jackasses, and you just kind of like, you know what, not going to hang around with it. But sometimes things happen, you get caught in the middle of it, but you know enough to either de-escalate it quickly, or if you have to get, if you can't get out of it, which most cases everything kind of boils down to get into a violent confrontation anyway. Even when certain things are like, no, I don't want to do that, and the guy's like, well, too bad, we're going to do this, and you can't back away from it. Then when you do it without any issue whatsoever. You do it dispassionately. You do it just bang. So that's the
Right.
beauty of it. The empowerment comes from not having to use this in a violent way, just mostly using it for self conditioning and stuff like that, and it allows them to focus a lot better in life, school. Doesn't matter the scholastic pursuits. That is the twin path that we have, the Bamburio Do. It's the twin path of the sword and the pen, and you have to balance physical training with scholastic pursuits.
And Hanchi does that very well.
Yep.
Yep. That's awesome. So other than in empowering students and seeing them grow and develop, what have been some of your other highlights through KU?
I think the best thing is never feeling that there's an end. There's the constant student and instructor second. There's always something to learn or something more to learn, and even training with other people. It doesn't matter what style system. Um, that's one thing I really love. If I want to go roll with a bunch of BJJ guys, I'm good. I can hold my own. If I want to go to the boxing club, no problem. If I want to just go to a straight kickboxing club, no problem. The full roundedness of it is what I really, really love. I don't feel like I'm lacking in any area. Just constantly improving myself in the training, but I don't feel like I'm like a fish out of water anymore when it came to the ground game or striking game or anything. Everything is so well rounded that um, there's a sense of calmness that I get from it, knowing like, oh, okay, let's go. So that's one of the major benefits. Always feeling like a student, and
Right.
that desire to always want to learn more. That I I've been training. Actually, it's been 40 years now. I just realized I'm getting up there. I still feel like that fire, that burning, it's still there. That desire to keep training.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we already talked about how KU or AKJ can actually help transcend styles and help other systems and help other styles. We've talked about some of your highlights. We've talked about empowerment, stuff like that. Where do you see KU going in the next 15, 20 years?
Stuff like that. I think it's just going to grow exponentially, and I think even more so. So I think hopefully it's going to be meet and train with others and try to get some study groups will pop up everywhere. I think it's just going to blast right off, and hopefully.
Excellent. Excellent. Speaking of study groups, that sort of segues well into my next question. You had mentioned before that one of the KU uh, symbols, if you will, is a sword in the brush. And one of the things Hanchi is really good at is motivating the academic study part. You want to speak a little bit to that?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to study the pioneers and what their original intent was for this art. If not just to be knowledgeable of it, but to pay respects to it.
Right.
It just didn't appear overnight. There's many pioneers that contributed to this, and from different cultures, even more so. Well, I kind of like that the part of Shu Hari, right? You learn from tradition, then you break tradition only to transcend it and come back full circle. Also, it's the study of debunking a lot of those myths.
Right.
Like how styles were named, and same thing with the study of the art.
Right.
No BS, no ambiguity, straightforward. Everything can be answered, if not researched, and then find out, yeah, if it's been
Right.
validated or verified with actual facts, not just statements or opinions like
Right.
a lot of people have.
And also included in that is the study of anatomy and physiology and the science.
Absolutely.
You know,
A&P, anatomy, physiology, the skeletal system, is paramount in order to, to destroy it essentially, or to, to subjugate it neurologically, knocking them out, or joint manipulations, or airflow, blood deprivation, choke, strangulations, that sort of thing.
Right.
You have to understand how the body works and how to affect it, but there has to be balance, and that's what Hanshi's really good at, promoting. The balance in the dojo, outside the dojo, family life, work, all that sort of stuff. You have to have balance. The overall benefit of studying not just I guess the cultural aspect, the history and stuff like that, the physical, I can't even put a number on what the benefits are. It's just so high.
Right. Right.
Because you're lacking if all you're going to do is kick and punch and that sort of thing. You get older, I'm in my mid 40s. I've got some injuries from over the years, and I can't imagine never do what I did, but my training has to change a little bit due to my age and some of the things that are starting to creep up on me, arthritis. So those sort of things, just things you have to be, and then to enjoy life as you're doing it. Because at the end of the
Awesome.
day, if this isn't fun, why do it?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, Geoff, I think we're about to wrap up. Is there any last minute input that you have, or any other last minute ideas you want to talk about?
I think the best thing for everybody is reach out to that individual that you think that could benefit from training. What's the worst thing you can say? No, I don't want to do it. Or maybe they go, hey, you know what? I'm a little hesitant, but they kind of showed me, they reached out to me. I should probably give it a try. Biggest thing right now with COVID is training and self motivation.
Right.
Um, get up, and do something, even if it's just a matter of getting up. But you got to get up and keep moving forward. And the beauty of studying in karate is, you've got our kata, so that's kind of help us reinforce that right now. But getting up and doing something physical, you're going to feel a whole lot better.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this, Geoff. It's been great.
Thank
And
you.
I look forward for us to meeting again.
Cheers.
Cheers.